And we're live. This is Dean with Two Party Podcast, and I'm here with Leks Vucho, and she's here today. She does fitness and health, and really, from what I've researched, and I hate to use the term stalking, but I've kind of have to stalk my guests to kind of get some information. So I have kind of looked in, and you do a lot of fitness stuff, but you also do Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing, weightlifting, just extremely powerful presence, as a woman, and as well as it looks like in the fighting sports, which is really cool. I used to box for many years. My son does jujitsu. It's something that I enjoy. There's not a lot of sports I really like anymore besides hockey and fighting sports. So on that note, guys, I want to have Leks Vucho kind of tell you about herself, where she's from, and her life story, and then we'll get into a little deeper conversation. Go ahead, Leks.
Sure. Hey, thanks for having me. So I grew up in Eastern Europe and I moved to United States when I was 17. And just prior to my move, my life got turbulent a little bit up until the age of 16, like typical. Nothing was going on in my life. And at 16, I got hit by a car. And long story short, I had a really terrible leg injury that ended up healing miraculously. And I didn't know anything about the mindset and the power of mindset and visualization at the time, but I actually applied that. So I healed unbelievably, really. A part of the bone kind of grew back. And then to jump completely to the craziest side, bombing in my country started. So then we had to deal with bombing.
And what country did you say you're in?
Serbia, Eastern Europe. That used to be called
Okay.
Yugoslavia. Like they changed the name so many times. It's ridiculous. And so then the bombing started and people had to deal with that. And so after all of that craziness, I ended up moving to the United States. And so that's where really my journey starts with the reason I went to Muay Thai. The reason I went to boxing and kickboxing was to deal with my anger. I didn't know about mindset. I didn't know about the power of positive thinking. I didn't know any of that. I was just trying to deal with my anger. And so I went into that, and yes, I was a tomboy my whole life, so it was no surprise to go into that kind of sport.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually helped me channel my anger, and I got calmer on the outside. I got calmer, and I was able to channel it and to work through it. And then I realized that I'm not a fighter. I'm not going to fight for a title or for money. Right. It's just not in my heart. Like you just know if you're a fighter or not. Yeah. And I went to fitness. I went to weightlifting, and I was fascinated with it. I was fascinated with what the body can do, how much it can change, all different types of workouts. And I just started reading about it, researching about it. And I thought, this is it. I have to share this with the world. So yes, again, long story short, I moved to a different city in the United States, and in Nashville, Tennessee, I opened my own fitness studio, and I loved it. I enjoyed it, but it was the first time, because I was a tomboy, it was the first time I actually dealt with a lot of women and realized what kind of low self-esteem I'm dealing with, and that they can't oftentimes take compliments, and just the mindset and limiting beliefs that most of us are conditioned to believe. And I first used it as a mirror to work on me, and then I started helping them. And so I just didn't feel like I was doing everything that I wanted to, that was my purpose. And so I ended up selling my studio 8 years later. And I moved back to Europe, which, I have to trust that I am where I'm supposed to be, and I'm at the right place at the right time. But I definitely had higher expectations for where I'm from. I never realized how much I've changed. But I mean, it was 20 years when I was in the United States. And so I started doing mindset coaching, and now I'm just connecting everything together, because I do believe that it all starts from mindset, no matter what area of life we're talking about.
I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah, it always starts with our beliefs.
It's all in the thinking. You can always improve yourself, but it starts with really what you're bringing into your processing and what you're actually working on to process.
Completely, absolutely. So it always led me to mindset and to limiting beliefs and to work through that. And so I started creating meditations and started really getting into it, but not like, people are like, oh, meditations, I could never do that, or like mindfulness, but it's really just like the beginning journey with like 10 minutes a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so now I'm really connecting everything. I'm connecting weight loss with, how can women and people achieve weight loss and actually maintain it, because most people just yo-yo with their health. And I feel like it's my journey to hopefully educate people on limiting beliefs, on nutrition, on how to work out properly and not kill yourself at the gym. and how to just be happy overall. Because for the first time in my life, I'm feeling completely balanced mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And I just feel like it's my obligation to share my journey with the world and help them get there with whatever path that is for them.
Yeah, I hear a lot of this, and a little quick background on me is I just had surgery on my ulnar nerve, just had carpal tunnel. I'm just getting over that. It's been about 3 months off work, literally like not able to do anything with my arm, just feeling like ridiculous. But I just started it's funny. I started my fitness journey, and I've boxed for years. I've always stayed in pretty good shape. I used to run 12 miles a day, almost every day. I've gone down these roads. I've also suffered, back in the day, I was an addict. I used drugs. I didn't take care of myself. I was an alcoholic at one point. So I've kind of been up and down through life and a lot of ups and down journeys. But it wasn't until about 2 years ago that my fitness journey started. And I've never been a morning person. I never liked getting up. I didn't like any of that. And I've always been a pretty skinny guy, real narrow. Now you can kind of see I got the man boobs going on and stuff. Like getting the gut it's impossible. I'm 44 years old. It's impossible to get this gut to go away. And I try, but it's also diet. But about 2 years ago, I decided like I was sick of getting older and watching my body change into something I didn't like. As a man, that's something, we us men, we're not going to tell people how we feel because that's just not being manly. But I was telling my wife, I said, this is just not who I want to be anymore. And I can prevent it, but I can't stop the aging. But I can definitely change the way I feel and physically. So I literally went from being an absolute no morning person to getting up at 5 a.m. I don't get good workouts unless it's at least 2 hours of my time. And so I literally get up at 5 a.m. and I work out till 7 o'clock. Then I go from 7 o'clock. I'm a general contractor doing construction. I go from 7 o'clock till whenever I get home. And that's how I start my day. And you mentioned meditation, and I've spoke with a lot of guests recently about meditation, and that has become my meditation. My time working out from 5 a.m. to 7 is not only, I feel better, mentally I'm healthier. Obviously physically I'm healthier, but emotionally, spiritually, it's like everything in one kind of has come together since I changed that routine in my lifestyle. And the past 3 months being off from this surgery has left me like in disarray. This week started back, light workouts, just trying to get the tendons and some of the skeletal muscle back in shape to start lifting heavier. And it's just been, I never even imagined throughout my years of growing up that weightlifting would ever be something I was even that much into, but that's where I'm at now. And so my fitness journey really started then. And when I saw your profile and I was kind of looking for different guests, that's what caught my attention. I was like, I get to have this lady on who does this, knows definitely more than I do, but my interests are the nutrition and the fitness side of it. But like you just said, the mindset, for me, suffering from depression, anxiety, living through the things I've lived through, I have it. I have post-traumatic stress. I've lived through a lot of traumatic things. That's where I thought you'd be amazing to kind of share your story and share what you've learned about the mindset and the different things like that. Because it really does, like we just touched on, what you put in your mind and the things you process in your mind. It's just like what you put in your body. If you're going to eat junk food, you're going to get results from junk food. If you eat healthy, you're going to get healthy results. So that's why I really was looking forward to this interview.
Yeah, I love all things mindset. Like, it's so fascinating to me how it works. Like, your environment, I heard this quote, it's not mine, but I don't know where I heard it. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. And that is so important to recognize, because we always talk about the mindset as to what's going on, in between my two ears, right?
Mm-hmm.
What am I thinking about? But the truth is, what is in front of me? What am I seeing? What am I hearing? What kind of messages am I hearing? Am I listening to positive podcasts or am I listening to the news? It's going to have very much effect on my mood, on my thoughts, on my life. Mm-hmm. And it has been proven over and over again that we have like 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and you're never going to control all of them. However, 90 or 95% of those thoughts are the same that we had yesterday, and they're all subconscious. But that means we only have to change 1 to 2% of our thoughts to get the wheel started, right? And that can start with How are you spending your free time? You started working out, and that is your form of meditation. I'm so glad you said that, because people always think, well, I can't just sit and not have any thoughts. That's not necessarily what meditation is.
Yeah.
Meditation is anything that I will say feeds your soul and has you quiet down and look within. And that can be drawing, that can be walking in nature, that can be doing yoga, that can be swimming. It's anything that people find when they're quiet with themselves, alone with their thoughts, able to focus on within. But it really goes hand in hand. It goes with what you see, what you hear, who you associate with, and then all of that goes into your thoughts, into your beliefs. And you create those beliefs, you create those thoughts, and you create habits, which then in turn create your life. And yeah, it's amazing what, a few months, a few workouts, how they can change your mind and or your thoughts, I should say. And, you mentioned addiction, and, I noticed years ago that I have kind of an addictive personality. So I always watch myself when it comes to that. But I did that. I did that in fitness. I overtrained myself for a while, and I always tell people, like, I was overtrained, I was undertrained. I developed an eating disorder when I was actually competing for bodybuilding, which most of bodybuilders don't even want to talk about, but it's very common. It's one of the most unhealthy sports. And I just felt that throughout my whole journey, I can use everything that I've been through to help people, because I get it. I get it, what it feels like to be out of control. I get it, what it feels like to feel like you're not able to control yourself and your body and your thoughts. And again, just understanding how to work through that, how to change that mindset. What can we start with? We can start with, again, how we spend our free time, who we're surrounded with, what kind of conversations are we having, what kind of books are we reading, and then what kind of words are we using when we say I am. They say those are the two most powerful words, right? What am I saying after that? Am I creating a good future? Am I creating a bad future? And of course, a major thing is self-forgiveness and leaving past in past, understanding that past has passed for a reason, and it does not necessarily mean your future at all. And most people get stuck in their stories. Well, this is who I am. This is who I always was. And that's really not true. It's just an excuse, because it takes effort to change. And none of us deeply down want to change, because our brain is designed for survival. And from the standpoint of the brain wanting to help you survive all the time, it doesn't want anything to change. It wants everything to be known. So even though you may be in discomfort and in pain, what's out there is a change, and your brain doesn't know what that means, and it doesn't know how to protect you. Therefore, it wants to keep you where you are. So you have to consciously work on you every day, little by little, to break through that. And that's, to me, that's like fascinating to know that I can completely change my life even within a year. But it's also fascinating to observe people and be like, oh, okay, like, yeah, that's your story. Like, I can see how you're stuck there, And you cannot, the hardest thing as somebody who like me, who's passionate about helping people, is understanding that not everybody wants to change, and not everybody's ready to change. Because you see people, you see potential in them, and you're like, okay, you know what? They're not ready. There was a time when I wasn't ready either. So.
Yeah, that's a powerful statement you make. And hey, I tried that workout for bodybuilding where you shred and lean out. I agree with you. Bodybuilding can be probably one of the most harsh things on your body. I did the low sugar, no carb, basically like a shred diet for competition. A friend gave me, and 5 meals a day. I mean, it was hard enough just to eat the meals, but then just all low carb, all weighed out, all perfect. And I mean, while I felt good, I felt bad. It was crazy. It does so much to your body that you're, I don't know how, much respect to anyone that can continue that career, because it takes such a toll on your body physically while you're doing it. You may feel good and look good, but inside, and the dedication of the eating, of what you got to eat. I mean, it's just so strict. It's crazy. But what you said is very powerful about just the things that I'm on a big self-help kick, or not self-help as much as helping other kick right now. And my message has been for the past week on our show, and every time I leave a live or an episode, my message has always been help others. Whether you hold a door, smile at them, give a compliment, if you're in a drive-through, buy the people behind you's meal.
That's fun.
You do it and you drive off. They don't even know who you are, but you helped somebody. And you never know if you're going to remove somebody from, like you said, even if it's just the thinking, just taking them out of a moment and putting them in a happier place. even in that moment, is something that I've been really pushing with our audience. But also to go deeper, like what you're saying, to really take that time like I do in the morning. That's my meditation, and it's active meditation for me, but it's a time where I can literally look in a mirror at myself. I can process, like you said, what I'm telling myself, the I ams. Am I telling myself that I'm a failure? Am I telling myself that I'm not good enough? Am I telling myself those things that I know deep down are not true of who I am and where I've come from? I tell a lot of my friends, that I've spoke with or haven't spoke with in years, we're good friends and we know each other, but you know me for who I used to be. And this is who I am now. So maybe now we haven't spoken 10 years or so. Maybe now you're expecting me to be that person you remember. And now you meet me now. It's almost like meeting a new person, because I'm not an addict. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't smoke, drink, and do unhealthy things. I don't make poor decisions anymore, or I try not to. And so it's very powerful what you said, because just that little bit of taking time and you encouraging people to look at themselves. It is difficult to sometimes compliment people. It's sometimes difficult. Nobody wants to be critiqued, and sometimes they don't want to be critiqued even more by people that they love. So sometimes it's hard when you care about someone to even give them criticism, but then to be able to do it with a perfect stranger when you're really genuinely trying to support and help them to overcome. And like you said, some people are stuck. And they don't want to change. It's like you said, the brain being disconnected. They almost just, that's just where they're happy. The change hurts too much to do it.
Yes, I wouldn't say that they're happy though. That's
right.
The thing. I don't think they know any better. And I don't think that, because it takes a while for people to get that it's the responsibilities on them. And it's the hardest pill to swallow, that to know, you know what, everything depends on me. But the moment people accept that, it gives them so much power. And that is a part of what I do now with females, especially. That's my focus group, is because we've been so conditioned to put ourselves last and care about everybody else and sacrifice ourselves.
Our society as a whole has done that. Yeah.
Yes, very much so. And it's like this whole image of like what humble really means. It's like not asking for much and not asking for anything. When the truth is, you can't have it all. You just have to understand that you have to define what success means for you. You have to define what you want out of your body, out of your health. Why are you sabotaging yourself in any area of your life, right? And for example, you mentioned how you tried the whole bodybuilding nutrition thing. And I mean, it was horrible. I felt, like you said, I felt awful. I was falling apart inside. And here's the craziest thing. I'm doing a completely different thing right now. I'm not counting calories. I'm not high protein. I'm training at home. And the craziest thing is I'm getting the same freaking results that I did getting ready for competition, because I found what works for my body. And I think we've been so conditioned to say, okay, this is the way to do it, or this is the way to success, or this is what success is. This is what the body should look like. This is what health. And it's like, if we can, that's where meditation comes in. If you can quiet down, go to your spot, go to the mirror, go to the nature, whatever works for you, and ask yourself those questions. What is it that I want out of my life? What is it that is a successful day for me? What is it that I want to see happening in the future, right? And once we start defining things for ourselves and start working on self-forgiveness, forgiveness for others, and self-love, when everything comes from a place of self-acceptance and self-love, everything changes, because that's where you are now. Otherwise you wouldn't be just spreading the good all around. You said helping others. You wouldn't be there if you didn't love yourself, accept and love yourself first. And once you do that, it's like thinking about a candle, right? You can spread that light everywhere, and it doesn't dim your light at all. You're just spreading the love, you're spreading the kindness. And really that's what it's about. And you're right, like when you do some good deed, you don't know who you help, but you also get that good feeling, that great feeling, like, you know what? I did something good, and it makes me feel so good. And it goes both ways, where people, and again, especially women, were taught to sacrifice. And when it comes from a place of sacrifice, you're already lacking. If I'm giving you something out of sacrifice, out of a place of sacrifice, I'm in a lack of. Where giving from a giving heart is place of abundance. And again, it's a shifting that perspective and saying, how am I going to observe this moment, right? Like, am I going to use this moment to help others and spread kindness, or am I going to use this moment and like be constricted, right? It's shifting that perspective on to helping others because it automatically gives you that good feeling back.
Yeah, and I had a friend. Along that same line. I have a good friend of mine, Andrew. Love him to death. He suffers from high anxiety and depression. He admits it. But he's a very active guy, very nice guy, very intelligent. Plays drums. He's a really good musician and stuff. But he brought up a good point to me a while back about. He said, when somebody offers a gift to you, you should always accept it, because when you give a gift or you're offering help to somebody. And let's say somebody's offering help to you. If you deny the gift, you deny them the opportunity of internal growth. You're denying them. When somebody offers you even something as small as like, hey, do you want a cup of tea, or you want some coffee, or can I get you something? Those little things that we take as like supposed to be just formal things. He made a good point about that. You're shutting down somebody's ability to have the same feeling, the same feel good of helping someone else, even in the minute things. And after a while, it becomes a conditioned thing where, some people they're used to someone saying no to the coffee or no to the tea, or, it just shuts them down. And eventually that person may hear it so many times, they just won't offer anymore. And then that puts you back into a place where, again, the mindset changes, where you're almost taking away or closing in the happiness that you can allow yourself by being a free giving person.
Absolutely.
It was a great point. Yeah, it was a great point that he made.
Yeah, I heard that, and I'm just going to rephrase it so people really get it. It's like when you buy somebody a gift and you don't want to tell them, but you're so excited.
The energy, the excitement,
the energy, excitement. You cannot wait to see the expression on their face. And you in the moment you're giving them, and you're so excited, and they go, no, I don't really want it. I don't want it. I don't deserve it. Don't give it to me. It would break your heart almost,
it
right?
severs the energy that was there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So if you know how it would feel like for somebody not receiving, that's exactly what you're doing when you're not receiving someone's gifts. And that's exactly, like I heard this years ago, and it like opened my mind to, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe I haven't been open to receiving. And then I am taking that pleasure away from the person of giving from a giving heart. And again, that's just how the nature works, and that's how the energy works. You're right. Because the more I do that, the more, let's call it universe, is going to assume that I'm not willing to receive. Yep. Therefore, it's not going to send anything good my way. Where the more you receive, and the more you're going to want to give. And really, that's what life is about. It's about how much we help somebody else and how much that other person helps us. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and I like to look at like you mentioned earlier about what am I doing in the moment and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, what is the legacy I'm leaving behind is kind of where I'm at now. And that's kind of where I'm at with the whole help others. And I keep encouraging, I go live and I'm encouraging friends of mine, hundreds of friends of mine that are watching and keeping track of my life online or whatever, even ones that contact me. And every time I talk to them, I always encourage, hey man, before we hang up, make sure you help someone today, and I'll just hang up. And it's one of those things like, I always ask myself every day, what is the legacy I'm leaving behind today? Not just what is the legacy of my life? What is the legacy that I'm going to leave behind to my son or my wife? What is the legacy I'm leaving behind right now? What is the legacy I'm leaving behind today, in this hour, in this moment, this interview? And to me, that's become the most important thing in my life at this moment. Maybe it's just a growth and a change in my heart and my mind. But I feel like at this point, it is important to me to know what I'm doing and be conscious that I'm doing it consciously, that I'm definitely doing this not out of any kind of selfish gain, but out of genuinely hoping that my impact may help even the people in my circle that eventually will grow to my community, that will eventually grow to my state, that will eventually grow to hopefully the world. And that's where I've been. That's kind of this zone I've been in. And so, it's like you said, the way our society has defined restrictions, especially on women, and it's been that way for years. Women, they back in the days, it was that they were supposed to cook, clean, take care of the kids, be mothers. This whole stigma that was placed on them, and unfortunately, as a society, they've got to put on makeup, they've got to look beautiful, they've got to do all these things that make no sense, but it was there, and unfortunately, it's generational. And to break that gap, and men, it goes that way for men in different aspects. Men are supposed to be tough and athletes and this and that. And it's when you finally reach a point when like you said earlier, self-love. When you finally find a place where instead of looking in the mirror and seeing something about yourself, even if it's one thing about yourself that you hate, reaching a point of looking in the mirror and actually caring about and loving your perfections and imperfections, and loving yourself in a way that you can look in that mirror and say, that is my biggest flaw and I love everything about it. And that's kind of where I'm at these days.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because again, like the whole journey of life is to constantly grow, evolve, and improve. So it's never done. And you're constantly going to be imperfect. But that's the beauty of it, right? And yes, it's like, what can I work on to improve myself while loving myself? And again, that inner chatter is very often just so negative, right? Like we're so harsh on ourselves. But when it comes from a place of self-love, you don't have to hold a grudge against your own self. And you can let things go, right? Like, oh, you know what? It happened. It was the best decision that I made at that time.
At the moment.
But I've changed at the moment, but I've grown and I've changed. And I just want to mention, I love how you said, like, what is my legacy today? Because, and I don't know if this is something you were learning as coming out of your addiction, but it's about like going through that day and making the best of that day and going day by day. And I love that because when people hear about like, what is your legacy? Sometimes they get freaked out by like the big picture. But if you say, what is my legacy today? How did people feel about spending time with me today? Did I make them feel better or worse? Were they better off because they came across me? And I love that. That's so powerful because it goes day by day. But then when you look back a year or two from now, you'll be like, whoa, I actually made a difference. And I love how you end the conversations with make sure you help someone today, because we get so caught up in our life, right? Like day-to-day life, getting busy, stressed out. And now with like online school, people with kids are freaking out.
Yes.
It's really about taking a moment and being like, wait a minute, let me appreciate my good problems, right? Like, let me appreciate all this stuff that's happening in my life, because it's a blessing. Because there are people, like they say, there's people that wish for your problems. You know, so just appreciating life and helping others.
It's like you just said, I get busy and I forget. And that's why I started making it a habit of telling people, you know, hey, make sure you help one person today. Make sure hey, I know your spouse. I got a good friend of mine who used to be really crazy, and he's calmed down, and he's dating a girl that I knew in high school. And I'm like, hey, make sure you tell Janet, you know, you love her today. Make sure when you go home, you give her a hug and don't tell her why. So I just I know I get busy, and I do it to my wife and I do it to my son. And I get so busy that sometimes I forget. And so I found it to make it a habit to remind other people helps me to remind me.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's kind of works for me. And then at the same time, you know, by doing that, it helps me live in that moment. And again, me saying to myself about my legacy, you know, what am I doing in this moment? That's what keeps me grounded in the moment, because we are so busy sometimes. We're always looking at calendars and looking at our schedule and looking ahead or what happened last week. Sometimes we don't take time to live in the moment. And sometimes, you know, life is short, and living in the moment is the most important thing we can ever, you know, things happen in moments, and sometimes we just don't even see it. And life is so short, it can be taken so quickly that if you're not in the moment making memories, what's the point? You know, what's the real point at that? I mean, if it's always about looking ahead or looking at a calendar, what's the point of living today for this moment?
Exactly. And that's where that meditation comes in, because you stop and you're in the moment and you look at the present time. And you're absolutely right, because if I am not living right now, I'm constantly either in the future or in the past, which is fine in the future because I can be creating something good, making sure that I'm creating something good. But if I'm spending time in the past is past. The only time we should look back is to learn from it, right? And you're right. Like, you know, social media has a lot to do with it, because it should be used as a tool, but it takes over people's lives. So, for example, like one of the things that I do with my clients is they turn off all notifications of their phone. And so, like with me, like I work, I'm on the computer, I'm on my phone. As soon as I'm done, our phone is never
you
on.
cut it off.
It's off. It's off. I'm with my family, and that is the most important thing at the time for me. And if you think about it, all these apps, they have teams of people, psychologists who want
you
on it. Exactly. So we have to take charge. Once again, we have to take responsibility and say, How am I spending my free time? Did I waste my time on Instagram today? Did I waste my time on social media today? Because I certainly didn't learn much from it, unless that is my job, right? And so looking at that time and taking our time back. And when you said that life is too short, I heard something the other day and it just hit me, said, tick-tock. That's not the clock ticking, that's your life.
Yes.
Whoa. And I thought, okay, I need to, like, I see, and I had a
and
video
it never stops, and it never stops.
Never stops.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and you're, you know, like, people always chase money, and it's like, you can always find ways to earn money.
Yep.
You'll never get this moment back. And that's a scary thought that should really get us all in gear to be the best versions of ourselves every single day.
It's crazy because you mentioned that about money, and it's like, I have a lot of friends of mine that know me, and they're like, you know, how much money are you making podcasting? How much money are you making do it? You know, and I'm a general contractor. I own a business. I've got a computer engineer's degree. I've got all kinds of things I've done in my life, and career stuff that I've done, and jobs. And you know, this whole thing, it never started or never really is anticipated for money. I'm not looking in my life, my legacy. I'm not looking to get rich. I'm not looking to leave behind my wife and kid. To be financially secure is great, but to be wealthy and think about the money, I really am wanting to leave behind the memories and have the memories of my own to share. And that to me means more. And these days, you know, people aren't like that. We're not wired that way. Social media doesn't let us be that way. The news itself doesn't let us be that way. We don't really take time to absorb making memories, making our life better, making someone else's life better, and then having the moment of their smile when we do it.
Yes, and think about even how many parents you see on the phones these days instead of with their kids. And it's like, no, we need to go back to basics. Shut the phone off and be present with your kid. There may be an annoying kid right now, but you're going to surely miss this moment in years to come, right? And again, it's about us taking control over our time. And what you said about the money thing, I'm going to connect to fitness. It's the same thing. Like, define what success is for you, because that's why I had to jump back into fitness. I'm like, I have a responsibility. Like, I'm so sick of watching like these images of women having the waist tiny and a butt this big, and these images of, you know, each their own, but like all these images of like girls with their butts all over Instagram. And I'm like, you know what? I have an obligation to show what health really means, what being healthy means in a balanced way, where you don't have to show certain parts of your body to feel, you know, something. Because again, if you come from a self-acceptance and self-love, you will come from a place of helping others, which is why I love that you are so about, because it's really about helping others. It's not about me posting my selfies. It's about how am I going to, now it's one thing like posting a selfie to get attention so that you can read what my message is, because that's a hook, but it's not the whole point, right? Like, we have to get the hook so we can get the message out. And it's really about showing people what success really means, what living in the moment means, what positive message means, what health really means. So you're right, like, we're so bombarded with this information that we have to stop and think, what do I, like you said, what is my legacy for today? What memories do I want to create, right? Am I going to remember spending time with my kid, or did I spend the whole time scrolling down on whatever social media platform I'm on? So it's about taking that time. And I'm not saying don't spend time on social media. If that brings you pleasure, it's been proven. It releases dopamine, unfortunately, in our brain. So it does give you a form of, you know, satisfaction, fine. But determine what that time is. Facebook now has a feature where you can set up
set
the timer. And so, you know, schedule it if you have to, you know, have that moment for you, but be present with your family, be present with people around you. You know how many times you sit with someone or talk to someone and they're holding the phone in their hand, or you're sitting talking to them and their phone is on the table, and it's like right away there's a disconnect. Right away we're not fully connecting, because I know you're looking at that phone or waiting for the message or waiting for it to be. And we have to acknowledge that we have become addicted to social media, addicted to our phones, and it's on us to take responsibility to weed off of that and to schedule certain times when we're on the phone and when we're present, because it's just, otherwise, you're right. At the end of the day, I'm like, well, where did my good day go? Right? Did I create memories? Did I have meaningful conversations? Or do I not even know who the hell I passed by me because I was so busy looking at my phone?
And it, you know, it's scary. And you know, that that just leads into, you hear more about higher divorce rates, you hear more about suicide rates, you hear more, all these statistics where things are changing in our world and getting, and people like to blame it on the population. People like to blame it on environmental issues. Somewhat is and plays a part in it, but a lot of it is a lot of that is the online presence. A lot of it is we've as a society lost our touch on social and relationships and valuing relationships, valuing friendships and our spouses, because we're too focused and absorbed and giving our attention to something that cannot give us the same love. We get the good endorphin and all the good feelings, but it doesn't provide the love. It doesn't provide a relationship. It doesn't provide what us as humans need, which is having companionship.
Absolutely. And you know this, having an addiction as your background, you know exactly what it is. It hijacks your mind.
Correct.
You're not you. You're not you, and you're not creating those memories. You're not being in the moment. So yes, we have to take responsibility of defining what we want our life to look like, defining what success means for us, and taking back control over our time. Because once again, time is all that we have. It's not the money. It's not the phone. It's time. And TikTok, it's our life ticking, right?
It is. It is. Hey, on that note, I'm going to sign off with you, but I want to have you back on the show for sure. We did a shorter time slot. I've got a bunch of people booked, but I want to get you back on the show. I want to get deeper into what you do. And I love your perspective on this stuff. And I love hearing a new perspective. And this has just really been a great interview. Give our audience some places where they can maybe pick up some of your information, website, anything that you have, that coaching or anything that they can reach you at.
Sure. My name, Leks Vucho. It's spelled differently, Leks, Vucko. But even if you type Leks with a V, it comes up. And that's leksvucho.com. Another one is mindsetconquest.com. So either one of those websites has links to all my social media. It's pretty easy to find online, really. So once again, leksvucho.com or mindsetconquest.com.
Excellent. Leks, I appreciate you being on here. And again, I'm going to reach out to you and we can set a later date where we can have more time to really discuss and get deeper into some of this stuff. You have a terrific day.
Yes, thank you. You too. It's been a pleasure.
And make sure to help someone today.
Make sure you help someone today. I love it.
Have a great day.
All right. Bye.